recording. Hello, hello everyone. So Shu Allegra here, and this is another episode of the Shu Allegra podcast. And today we're talking about chronic illness. We'll be talking about this for a few episodes at least. And if you follow me, you know that it's something that's close and dear to my heart. I work and serve, as I call it. I serve a lot of people with chronic illnesses, disabilities, developmental delays, the challenges, however you want to call it. But life can be hard. We all have those things that sometimes our bodies just don't do what we want it to do. And we find ways to cope with it. We find ways to rise above it and have meaningful lives. So today I have my very good friend here, LaShonn, and she is just one true example of how you can do that. So I'll let LaShonn introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm LaShonn Edmunds, patient advocate of Cairs 2, lymphedema specialist. Now I should stop playing, no. But I do
Yeah.
know a lot about lymphedema. It is a condition that I suffer with, and just really want to explore and talk more about it to let people know exactly what the illness is.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And I like how you say, you are a specialist, and yes, you should stop playing with it, right? You have to claim it and own it. I mean, sometimes we forget that the things that we go through, we become experts. Not only we're always experts in ourselves, in our bodies, and how those things affect us, but we often become expert in those, you know, conditions. I remember recently I was calling a medical facility to schedule a procedure for my son. And the lady over the phone was asking me all these questions, which is routine medical questions. So it was nothing out of the ordinary. And as I was answering her question, and then I was telling her terms she never heard about, and I was explaining it to her. She stopped. She's like, "Are you a doctor?" I'm like, that's what I'm definitely, damn right, I'm an honorary doctor. I've earned my M right and clear, because we live this, we live this. So yes, Clemmer, you are an expert. You know way more than, I do, but so many more do and on that specific topic. So what's your story with lymphedema, if I can say it right?
Yes. First of all, that's the hardest part, knowing how to pronounce the word. I remember when I first had to pronounce the word, I was like, what in the world is that, doctor? But yeah, let me tell you my story. So about 22 years ago, I I was pregnant with my third child, and normal pregnancy as I thought, as the other two. This is the third one. And I had to get a cesarean because typically that's what they do after you have your first one. So having the third cesarean, everything went great, pregnancy normal. They did what they normally do. And couple of years later, I started noticing that my feet did not go down from swelling. Because typically with each pregnancy, my feet would swell. So it didn't alarm me when I saw it the third time. Okay, that's pretty normal. I swell up. Well, after a couple of years, I'm like, okay, my kid is, walking now. Why am I still swollen? That just doesn't seem right. So I was a little alarmed about it, of course. It wasn't really bad swelling, but it was enough that I could notice it.
Right.
So I went to the doctors, several doctors, specialists. They ran all kind of tests. They did everything they possibly could. They could not figure it out. So they finally told me, they're like, hey, you know what? We're going to treat you for gout because we don't see any other reason why you would be swelling. And you probably need to lose some weight because you're about, 20 pounds overweight at this point. I'm like, okay, well, that's what I'll do. So I tried to lose some weight. And guess what? Feet still stay swollen. Nothing went down. And then I'm like, okay, well, that's not working. Again, wasn't too bad, so I didn't think too much of it until one day I was at work and I like to go outside with the kids a lot, and had gotten bitten by a mosquito or some kind of little bug outside, but I was at work and I kept picking at it. And I picked at it so bad that I passed out at work. It was crazy because my leg got so hot. I mean, and I'm an African American, so I call myself cute chocolate. And so you can imagine a chocolate African American woman with a red leg. I
Oh
mean, it
my,
was
yeah.
fiery red. And so
Wow.
it's definitely not normal. And then I don't passed out at work, red leg on fire. Of course, everybody at work freaked out. And
Yeah.
of course, you would freak out. So called the EMS. They took me to the emergency room. And all they told me, they would say, hey, ma'am, we just see that you've lost a lot of blood. I don't know how I've lost a lot of blood, but they said I lost a lot of blood. So
Wow.
they gave me a blood transfusion. And they said, oh, and you have something that's called cellulitis. Okay, there's another one of those words who I've never heard of before. Okay, I'm like, what the heck is that? They're like, well, it's a condition that you can get an infection within your body, and your immune system wasn't strong enough to fight off whatever infection that was. So we're, doing the blood transfusion to help, clean your blood out, and that
Mhm.
should help with the infection. I'm like, okay. Again, everything they're saying to me is completely foreign. I have no idea what these people are talking about. I'm like, they said, but just go see your doctor once you leave here. They kept me in the hospital for about a week
Wow.
after I had this incident. So I went to the doctor. He wasn't there. The
Mhm.
nurse practitioner was there, which, I felt like I probably should have seen the doctor after just leaving the hospital, but like, hey, he ain't here. I got to see somebody.
Mhm.
So she proceeded to ask me several questions about what happened. So I told her. She went and grabbed a book. She
Mhm.
started looking at all the symptoms in the book that I described to her. And she said, I know what happened to you. I said,
Mhm.
what? She said, cellulitis is associated with a condition called lymphedema. I'm
Wow.
like, a lympho what? She's like, lymphedema. So she had to say it a couple of times. And I'm like, okay, well, good. Okay. So, go on and fix me.
Mhm.
She said, unfortunately, there's no cure for this.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? She said, I'm not. She said, but that's why you're swelling. That's the reason why the bug bite that you gotten, by you picking at it, picking at a sore,
Mhm.
any kind of injury, those are things that can trigger you to develop lymphedema. I'm like, what? She said, only thing I can do, because we can't treat you here, I'm going to send you to a lymphatic specialist
Mhm.
at one of the local hospitals, and they'll create a plan for you to help you with managing your lymphedema. She said, this is something you're going to have to live with for the rest of your life. So whatever she tells you, just make sure you follow instructions. So went to the hospital, to the specialist, and did exactly what they told me, which consisted of me wrapping my legs with ace bandages, uh, cotton wraps,
Mhm.
using a stocking.
Wow.
I looked like I had a cast on my foot. So now I couldn't wear regular shoes because I got this big thing wrapped around my leg
Mhm.
that I had to walk around with. And she said, this is what you got to do every day. I'm like, I can't go to work like this. She said,
Yeah.
this is what you have to do every day for the rest of your life. So
Oh.
naturally, any woman would completely lose it. And I did.
Mhm.
I got extremely depressed.
Yeah.
Um, I call it functional depression. I don't know if that's a real term, but
It is a real
I look,
term.
yeah, it's my term. I look happy on the outside, but dying on the inside. So
Mhm.
that's why I experienced probably for the next 7, 8, 9, 10 years, um, just dealing with it, not being consistent and doing what I'm supposed to do because I'm angry. I'm angry at God. I'm angry at myself. I'm angry that I got to go through this. I'm like, why? Why do I have to deal with this? God, why can they not have a cure?
Mhm.
And why I'm the only person on the planet with this doggone disease? Nobody's ever heard of it. Anytime I say anything, people don't know. I tried to get coverage from my insurance provider. They told me no. They said that
Wow.
disease doesn't exist. What is it? We don't even have it in our records.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Mhm.
So I went through a few years of just battling, going back and forth. And I had to pay out of pocket for my own medical supplies for
Wow.
quite a few years. Eventually, I got the swelling to go down when I was, being obedient and rapping like I was supposed to. That my lymphedema specialist said, okay, you got it down enough, you can start wearing compression stockings. So I
Mhm.
started doing the compression stockings, hated those too. Again, African American woman, compression stockings were made for Caucasians. So imagine me again going around with my little chocolate self and these Caucasian stockings. So
The feeling I
again,
just
I
went
was
through that
upset.
recently. Yeah.
I was completely upset again. I'm like, I am not doing this. I said I can't do it. So again, I just again began being disobedient again, and not wearing the stockings. And finally, one day, my legs started hurting so bad, I had to comply. I had to change my mindset. I had to completely rethink this disease. And like, you are no longer going to own me. I am going to own you. And I'm going to overcome this because I know something can be done. So I decided to, at that point, do a lot of research. I found some support groups, several of them actually, and found out that this disease impacts over 100 million people just in the USA alone. There's more people with this disease than AIDS, cancer, and diabetes combined.
Wow.
And the reason why is because they have linked lymphedema to all of those diseases. There are over 144 lymphedema associations with other diseases that has that people have still been misdiagnosed with, because doctors, and it's not their fault, but they, in their 4 years of medical school, they only got 30 minutes worth of training about lymphedema. That's it. Just
And
30
there are that many
minutes.
people suffering from it. And
Yes.
yet there's only 30 minutes of training in 4 years. Wow.
In 4 years. So
Wow.
imagine you're a doctor and you got to diagnose this patient coming in. You're going for the top issues. You're not thinking about that 30-minute class you had in fall semester 20 years ago. I mean, just being honest. I mean, that it's a miss. And it's such a miss that even the insurance industry didn't have it on the application for insurance to file claims to allow people to get medical supplies. Wow. I mean, it's a huge issue. It's a huge issue. They call it the redhead stepchild. Yeah, the redhead stepchild of cancer is what they call it. Yeah. Yeah, because people just misdiagnose it all the time.
Oh,
but yeah.
What a story. What a story.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm sure as you're sharing, I know we laugh about it because often I say, well, if you don't laugh about this, then you'll just cry all day long, right?
Oh,
and
yeah,
we had a share of tears, I'm sure.
Yeah, much of them.
Yeah, but I was thinking about even when you said about, those compression socks. Oh my goodness. I recently had to get some and I ordered some and it was just like, okay. On the catalog, it looks brown enough to be close to my skin. And then you get here, I look like I got burned and like no afterburn skin, I'm just like, this does not look good.
It's like, this ain't it. This ain't it.
Oh yeah, and it's winter, so it's like, okay, I got no choice but to cover my legs at some point. And it's like, this is not going well. So that's something that we don't often talk about. That a lot of the supportive treatments or aids or I don't know how to call this. It's not treatment. I think like a lot of things that we have for supportive, medicine, if you want, are not always very culturally sensitive.
Correct.
They're not. And you think about not just the compression socks. Think about wigs. When women have cancer and go for chemo or lose their hair. Like I walked in. I don't have cancer. I never had cancer, but I had my flavor. They're looking for different things, and I started connecting with over nonprofits were kind of supporting women with cancer. And I walked into one of the shop one time. I actually went there with thrift stores where people bring stuff and then they raise money for cancer. And so I went there shopping, and they had a little room in the back that was actually set for women to come and get wigs and get bras and things like that. And I walked in there, I'm like, if I honestly was going through chemo, I walked in there was no way I could put on my head. And I could look like a woman, like a Black woman,
Yeah,
for everyone out there, it's like, yes, we a lot of Black women, myself included, we wear a lot of hair extensions and and wigs sometimes. So there's a lot out there for everyone. But even when it comes to the medical stuff, You
Mm-hmm.
know, although we could have just purchased the same wig that are sold at the, you know, at the hair salon for the hair shop, but nobody thinks about that. You know, people donate those wigs or purchase wigs that not everybody can wear. And it's not just, you know, for African American, you know, Black woman. Think about even an Asian woman. There was nothing there
Yeah.
like an Asian person will wear and feel comfortable with. Like if I was Asian, I'm like, there's no hair there that looks like mine, you know.
Right.
So it's
Exactly.
for everyone out there to kind of be very sensitive to those things. You know,
Mm-hmm.
even as doctors are providing treatments, to be sensitive to people's culture, people's values, so that people are treated, you know, with dignity and respect, even when they're going through something that might be terminal even. So anyway, so that was a side a side a tangent there. Some things that, you know, that again are close to my heart. But my question for you now is, after all of that, you say you had to, you went through a lot of anger, and I'm sure a lot of us go through that. Want to know, why me? You know, why don't they have a cure for it? I think you said, you know, why the doctors can't figure this out.
Right.
And going through all these years with no answer is even more frustrating. I often
Yes.
say it's one thing to to be still sick, and it's another thing to feel sick and not know why. You know, it's
Exactly.
like, even tell me I'm dying, I'll be okay with it. I've been there. I'm like, no, I'll be okay
Yeah,
with it. But just not knowing, it's even more debilitating.
it
So
is.
you came from you rose above that. You came at the over end of it, where,
Mm-hmm.
like you say, you took ownership of what you're dealing with. You kind of not accepted the disease as is, but you didn't let the disease, you know, keep you down. So share
Exactly.
with us a little bit what helped you in that process. What led to that shift, that paradigm shift for you?
Well, it was a couple of things. First thing, I love fashion. Okay. I am like a shoe guru. I love shoes.
Yeah.
And when this happened to me, that was probably more of it than anything, that I couldn't wear my shoes anymore. And I mean, I like heels. I like to look
Mm.
cute. So, you know, after I did my little sob story and just kept going through like, why me, hiding myself, you know, wearing long skirts all the time, not dressing cute anymore, just looking like a person that wasn't me anymore, just not feeling beautiful at all. Because
Mhm.
I'm having to wear, you know, shoes that are like twice my size. I always say I look like a little sister wearing big sister shoes, you know, trying to play dress up. I look a hot mess.
Mhm.
But, you know, God gave me a vision that instead of sitting here complaining about it, do something about it.
Yes.
Because currently there are no shoes out there for people like us.
Yeah.
I take that back. There's one company that recently last year launched a shoe, but outside of that one, and not the kind that I'm talking about, like you can go to corporate America and dress up and, you know, heels. There's nobody that does that. So he gave me a vision to do that. He said, why don't you just make shoes for women who suffer from lymphedema? So I
Wow.
said, okay. So I created a company called Cairs, which stands for Choosing an Irreplaceable Shoe.
Mhm.
And with my company, the whole premise of it is to help bring awareness to people about lymphedema and provide a solution to make you feel beautiful again. So I'm still in the development process of that. So during that, while I'm in this process, I decided to go ahead and start educating people about lymphedema
Mhm.
through a program I call I Cares 2. And that's I Cares, CAIRS, the number 2. I Cares 2.
Mhm.
So meaning I care about your issue just like you care about my issue. I care too.
Mhm.
So what I do is go around to different healthcare events, different corporations, and I tell my story.
Mhm.
I provide resources and information to people and basically just explain to them what lymphedema is,
Mhm.
how it developed, how it can develop, where you can get medical assistance, where you can get support and feel comfortable. For a great example, one of the support groups, I live in South Carolina, is called Upstate Monarchs. So
Mhm.
it's a group of men and women, because lymphedema has no boundaries with age
Right.
or nationality. It hits everybody. Okay. I'm talking about you can be born with this thing, or you can get it right after you have chemo if you have cancer. And it can actually develop like 5 years after your chemo. And doctors don't even tell you that. So that's a whole nother thing. So, but you can either be born with it or you can get it after some kind of surgery, some kind of accident, chemo, all kind of things. They can just pop up. All of a sudden you swole one day. You just don't know where it came from. So I educate people about that and where they can go to get treatment, and the different types of treatments and the different types of instruments that you can use to help reduce the swelling. And then I also provide them with resources to like support groups like the Upstate Monarchs, if they are here in my state. And it's a great one called Lymphy Strong. That's a Facebook support group. And they have probably over 40,000 members already in that group that they can get support from and go into the group and discuss their issues in a safe environment. And then additional places is Learn, which is Lymphedema Education Research Network. This is a support group for doctors where they can go and actually get more education about lymphedema, and they can also join and become members to help find a solution. Harvard is already a part of it. They have a lot of celebrities like Kathy Bates and Wendy Williams. They are part of that organization. And they're raising awareness, raising funds to help find a cure for us. Because Wendy Williams just recently found out last year that she has it. So she had a whole episode on her show. Actually had two. One with one by herself telling her story, and then another one with Kathy Bates, where Kathy came on and, provided some more education about it. So, and then another dear one that I have is called, oh my goodness, I apologize, it just slipped my mind, but it's
okay,
another
you can
one.
Share with those with me later too, and then we can put in the description. So for everyone that they can just click on the links.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, so this organization, you remember I was mentioning that the insurance companies do not pay for the medical equipment and treatment. So this organization they're actually trying to get a bill passed with legislators. It's actually the #1 healthcare bill in the U.S. right now for lymphedema. And what they're trying to do is actually get the code on the insurance form so that when you go into the doctor's office, they'll check the box, and then the government can actually pay to have you to be able to get medical supplies.
Awesome.
So again, it's a lot of great things out there that I'm trying to bring awareness to make sure people know, and people who don't know but have loved ones that suffer from it, where they can go and get help for their loved ones.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that's so needed. Wow. Thank you. You've definitely been busy, and I like you said, those things happen to us, right? We don't choose for them to happen, because sometimes we just get thrown into it, whether you're born with it or it happens later in life. But then we have to make that decision to ever let this drag us down, leave us down, keep us stuck down.
Exactly.
Or we use this, rise above it, and do something with it. And
exactly.
I love what you're doing with it. All the education you're providing, the resources you provide for others, and even just the support. I mean, I can imagine as a woman, like you said, most women love shoes.
Yeah.
You want to have huge shoes. And I can't even wear heels, but I have all kinds of flats. And I don't matter it doesn't matter if it's a $2.99 from the consignment store, the thrift store. It's like, I like my shoes. I need to have it. So it's a woman thing, and most of us love shoes and not be able to wear the shoes you want.
Exactly.
It's hard. It's hard
exactly.
for women. Like you say, you're gonna lose part of who you are, and if you put in a situation where you have to dress differently, you lose part of your identity.
You do.
You do. And that's hard. And it's almost, and I also like how you openly share earlier how going through this, you also had some bouts of depression, because sometimes we don't talk about it. We don't talk about the connection between our physical health and our mental health.
Yeah.
No one honestly on earth can go through chronic illness. I mean, I would be surprised, both as an individual who've been through it, but also as a professional who helps others with it. I'll be surprised to see anyone who was dealing with a chronic illness and didn't have a bout of depression.
Yeah. I would be
something, right?
Yeah, I would be shocked myself.
It's just the normal reaction to life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you're gonna get stuck in there and not be able to get out of bed. Some of us been there, but sometimes you become like what you shared, that functional, you deal with functional depression where you're up, you're going to work, but inside you, like you've lost all hope. Like you're just kind of going through the motion, waiting for the last day to happen because you can't deal with life anymore.
Exactly.
So it's okay to have this conversation. Like, it's okay to acknowledge that you have, right now it's a rough time. And a lot of the things that I do, and I also invite a lot of people to start doing. People, if you work, and this is for everyone, whether you work in medical health, physical health, you're helping people in some way, is to encourage people to always get help for their emotions, get help for their mental health, for their brain, um,
Exactly.
because that's important. That's
It
important.
is.
And locally here, there's actually a oncologist who has a private practice, and he started having a not only a social worker, not we have a lot of social workers in his offices, which is great, but he also has a therapist there. And maybe if it's a
Oh.
clinical social worker, that's great. She can do both. But I think we need to start expanding this, because people need, after you get a diagnosis like that, people
Mm-hmm.
need someone to sit beside them.
They
Often,
do.
just like you, I'm sure the nurse practitioner sat there with you, give you all these details, tell you that you're going to be dealing with this the rest of your life, and then
Yep.
send you on your merry way. Now you get in
She
the car and
did.
drive home.
She did. All of them did.
Seriously,
All
it's
of them.
like
That's exactly what they did. Yeah.
right. We
Yeah.
expect people to leave the office and actually make it to a destination. I mean, in that split of a second, and just thinking about how quickly the chemicals in our brain can be shifted out of balance. Someone
Yep.
can get in the car and it's like, what's the point? If I'm going to live like this, I might just close my eyes right and let the car roll.
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying that to give people ideas, but I'm saying it so
It's the
that
truth.
all of us have to be aware of that. Let's
Mm-hmm.
support people's mental health when they have a chronic illness. Even if they don't, all of us, mental health is your health. We have to take care of our emotions and our brains, all the time. But even
Yeah.
more so when we know that we have a chronic illness, please, please, please make sure that you're getting all the help you need in all the areas of life. The
Yes.
physical, the mental, all of it. And also don't be afraid to ask for help, and it's not just
Exactly.
going to the doctor. Even at home, it's okay to let your kids, let your loved one, your neighbor, do some things for you, pick up the mail, pick up groceries. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It
definitely
is.
okay.
And
And I
thank
know you
goodness
and
I
I.
had yeah, I
Go
was going to
ahead.
say I had a wonderful employer at the time, and they offered EAP, which is Employee Assistance
Yes,
Program.
use
And
it.
through that program, they gave us 24 free sessions with a therapist. And I took advantage of that when I realized that I was, not getting better mentally. I could start seeing it in my work ethic. And I had to, put my big girl pants on, like, hey,
Mhm.
something ain't right. You need to go and get yourself checked out. So I
Yes.
definitely, took advantage of those services, and they were phenomenal. Had a great therapist. He, identified my issues and found some more stuff going on. But anyway,
And
we
sometimes
just start
that
with that one. But he gave me a lot of great tips on things that I need to do to help, my mental health. And I was so thankful and blessed for that. And one of the great techniques he gave me was meditation. He
mm-hmm.
said, meditate and make sure you do things that make you happy.
Yes.
So, and he gave me a lot of other different things, but those were the big two that stood out for me. Was the meditation, and I still do it today. I absolutely love it. It just really sets my day off to really help things go the
Mm-hmm.
way I choose for them to go for me. So,
Yes.
because I choose to live every day, and I'm excited about life again.
Yes, and I think that now that you have to choose life every day, and
Yes.
sometimes it's a minute or second by second decision.
Yes.
Whether you're going through chronic illness or going through a difficult time. I mean, every single day, we have to make that conscious effort to choose life. Because
That's
as long
right.
as you're physically living, there's still hope. Maybe
Exactly.
the illness, it might be chronic and it's not going anywhere, but you can still enjoy life in spite of it.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for sharing that. And I just wanted to plug here before we close, for all our listeners, LaShonn is also one of the co-authors of Made for More Chronic Illness Edition, which is coming out February 29th. So we're going to post the link also in the description for you guys to pre-order. But this is just how it's been so wonderful to have you on the show, but also wonderful to have you as part of the book. And there are 17 more authors in this book, and all of us share how we're rising above chronic illnesses, and some of the illnesses I never heard of. I was like, that's the chapters, I'm like, what in the world, right? Just like you said. And so I've learned so much, even by being the project leader and reading all the chapters before sending it to the editor and afterward, and it's just been so encouraging, even for me.
Yes.
You know, I
Yes.
deal with chronic illnesses. I support others with chronic illnesses, but it was, even for me, it was so encouraging to read your story and others, the other authors' stories, and find hope in it. So I know
Yes.
for everyone listening, I know that this book's going to be a blessing for you as well. So if even if you say, well, I don't have a chronic illness, I'm sure you're going to read it and you're going to feel inspired, encouraged, and motivated to do something with your life. Because a lot of us in that book are doing exactly like what LaShonn said. We took what happened to us and turned it
Hmm.
into something better. You know,
Yep.
our stumbling blocks became our stepping stones. And it's just
Yep.
amazing how we're all touching lives and making impact, leaving a dent on this earth. And, and not just in spite of, chronic illnesses, but because of it also. So
Exactly.
yeah, so we'll post the link there, and the pre-order, like I said, we'll be starting soon here, but the book goes live February 20th, 29th, but you can pre-order anytime from the first into then. And obviously after that, it's going to be on, available on Amazon, and you can get it then. So thank you again, LaShonn, for being here, and thank you to all our
Thank you.
listeners for always being here and supporting us. And if this blessed you, share with others. I'm sure that there are so many people that maybe that you work with, who follow you on social media, who need to hear this encouragement. So share it out. Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. That's right. Well, I appreciate you so much for doing this and giving us a platform to be able to share our stories and be able to reach a whole lot more people that can help them as well. So thank you so much for this.
Pleasure, my pleasure. I love doing these things.